Hey guys, on today's video I'm going to be reviewing the classic film Back to the Future. Now, that's a film that when I was a little kid I'd watch over and over. There was a couple films that I'd watch when I was a kid, one being Batman, two being Ninja Turtles, but Back to the Future was one of them that I could watch all the time. I never got sick of it. It was just a really great movie. The characters were really well thought out, really played out well, and it's just they felt very real to me. And the storyline, despite being time travel, it felt like a real story. Like this is something that could plausibly happen. Despite the DeLorean and the specifics of the film, like you really felt for the characters being in that situation. The film ages really well. I've never heard anyone look back and say that it's a story that looks like it's from the 80s. Um, it's a movie that when I was with my niece and nephew, it came on and they stopped and they watched it because they recognized the movie. So it's a movie that they can recognize, kids and teenagers can recognize now, and they never say, "Oh, this is an old movie." It's a movie where they see the characters, not the date, and I think that that's really a good deal for them because it's kind of one of those like timeless movies, without being intentionally timeless. Um, and another thing about the movie, and I found this out, from school and from work, is you can have an in-depth conversation about this movie and the different mechanics of what goes into everything, storyline wise with this movie. Like you can talk to anybody about it. I'd say 9 times out of 10, you go up to someone and ask them if they've seen Back to the Future, and they probably have. Um, it's just a very relatable, a very accessible movie. It's a very charming movie in that regard. I don't know if that's what they were going for at the time. I know it went through a lot of different rewrites. I think at one point the DeLorean was supposed to be a refrigerator that they go into, and that makes them time travel. That confused me when I read that part. I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense. How would what? um, and plus, I don't think at the time they really wanted to stick people in a refrigerator, and like that's just kind of grotesque. From like, I don't know, it's just really creepy. So it eventually got changed to a DeLorean, which I don't think you could have really had that time travel be any other way. When you think of cars that are standing out, you think of the Batmobile, the Dukes of Hazzard car, the DeLorean. Those are like, Knight Rider. Those are the big car things. So I think that really helped sell the movie in a way that a refrigerator wouldn't. The thing that I like most about this movie, besides the plot, would be the chemistry between Doc Brown and Marty. The the protege and the mentor relationship's kind of been one that's played out through time when you read classic stories, or even like more modern things like Batman and Robin, or movies like with Obi-Wan and Luke Skywalker. Like the apprentice and the mentor relationship has always been kind of an interesting one to me, where the older generation passes down some information to the new generation, and we all kind of learn something. Because in a sense, adults always kind of look down upon the kids, and kids always kind of look up in rebellion at the adults and everything. And I think when you can kind of break that relationship and have an actual bond between people, I think that makes the story a lot better. And you definitely see that here. And not just from Doc Brown from the 80s, but Doc Brown from the 50s, where he's got to be the mentor for Marty in for the most part, and teaching him, stuff about the 50s and time travel. And, for him, it's all hypothetical. So by the time you get to the 80s, you realize he knows a lot more than he did. But I like the fact that they learned a lot from each other. It just wasn't a character made to get, it wasn't a character that was made for just plot. It was actually an important character that you felt like this is someone that I'd like to chill with, on both sides of that relationship. I think it's a coming of age story that you learn from Marty and from Doc Brown's perspective. Um, Marty from the aspect of, the world is a lot more, there are consequences to the actions that you do, not just the banging his mom part, but, if you unravel time, or you look, you change something about your parents. Because, I mean, we've all looked at our parents and been like, God, why are you like that? You're so annoying. but he's actually has the chance to do that, and it really screws everything up, potentially, which is what he has to take responsibility for. And the same thing with Doc Brown. When you start meddling with time, there are consequences to those actions, to where he learns them. And the whole idea behind the time travel, um, I don't know, most movies don't use it properly, or there's tons of plot holes. And I've thought about this movie, and I'm sure there are some plot holes in this movie. I just, maybe it's my fondness for the movie that I haven't really found them, but I think this movie plays probably the best time travel that any of them have had. Um, and that's saying a lot, because I've seen a lot of time travel movies, and this, besides, yeah, I would say this is probably the best time travel movie out there, bar none. Um, but it deals with a lot of heavy issues. Um, like I said, the responsibility, changing the past, but more so looking inside yourself. And at the beginning of the movie, I don't think Marty was a hero type person, but I think by the end of the movie, like, he was someone that you could look up to, and be like, that's someone that I look up to and respect. He does turn into a hero into the movie, by doing the right thing, especially by passing Doc Brown the letter to save his life. That's something where, being a time travel movie, like, sometimes you don't want to play that card, and go that route. But I think with him, like, he makes the right decision. So as a kid looking at that, I looked up to that a lot. So the character of Marty, like, again, was more relatable, because I think a lot of us in that situation would probably feel like that's what you should do. And it was just really, really well played out. And I think this movie has the father character, being such a goober. um, like, that was just, I don't know. Like, we all kind of look at our parents like, God, you guys are really lame. Um, and to see his father in that, light of being a dork, um, like that, it was just, that's really kind of cool. Uh, I don't know. When I looked at my parents as kids, in the high school pictures and whatnot, like, my dad's hair, his comb was like flat hair, big geek glasses, and I'm sitting there going, wow, that's really that's really lame. And my mom, she had like frizzed out, like, 70s hair, and it was just like, wow. And so when you look back, the nostalgic factor, like, everybody can relate to that. I'm sure when I have kids, they're gonna look back and be like, wow, fat man, you were you were lame too. And I can't argue with it, because, yeah, I was really lame. But I think that everybody can relate to that nostalgia factor. um, and I think this movie has one of the best villains in a teens movie. Definitely one of the most realistic ones, just in terms of how they come across, and their intentions. And just, I mean, it was just, Biff was a badass, but he was such a jerk. And I think this movie, like, a lot of the movie relied on his shoulders. If you didn't believe the villain, then you really didn't believe the movie. And I bought the villain. And I think that's the thing with this movie. Like, I bought every character. The mom, which, as weird as it was, she was trying to screw Marty. Like, she didn't know that, but she was a very realistic character, in the whole, simplistic, the values that she had, and the dad's, values, and his outlook on things, and being nervous all the time. And, like, those are very realistic things that kids go through. And the same thing with Biff. Uh, Being a geek in high school, like, I saw plenty of people that were like the Biff character, not in terms of, the 50s style, but, in terms of, wow, they're really kind of an asshole. Um, so all those characters you looked at, and they weren't just characters, they were really people. And that was a really cool thing that this movie got right. And especially for a teen movie, that tip of my hat to you guys for that, because those are very cool characters, and characters everybody seems to kind of recognize nowadays. Um, I don't know. And like I said, I think this is the best time travel movie out there, and I think it's as close as you can get to a perfect movie. I mean, it's a real classic. So I would recommend this movie for any one of you guys. I'd recommend it for parents to watch with their kids, because I think it's a movie that you guys can bond over. It's a really good movie. I'd recommend it for anyone. Uh, If you like the movie, uh, click on it, subscribe, share it if you can. I can't grow without you guys, so keep on geeking on, guys.